June 8, 1944, 11:47 p.m. Wing Commander Leonard Cheshire banks his Lancaster bomber through moonlit clouds above France's Loire Valley. 60 feet beneath the hillside below, German panzer divisions thunder through a railway tunnel, racing toward Normandy's beaches. If those tanks arrive, thousands of Allied soldiers storming the coast will be slaughtered within hours. Standard explosives have failed for 18 months. The tunnel mocks every bomb the RAF drops. Nothing penetrates solid mountain rock. But tonight, Cheshire carries something unprecedented. A 12,000-pound steel javelin designed to pierce earth like a sword through flesh, then detonate underground, unleashing shockwaves through bedrock like a man-made earthquake. He releases the weapon. 21 feet of aerodynamic steel vanishes into darkness, accelerating past the speed of sound. 3 seconds later, the hillside erupts from within. What Cheshire doesn't realize, the genius behind this weapon never earned a university degree. He taught himself engineering while laboring as a shipyard apprentice. And his breakthrough came from watching children skip stones across a pond. The Air Ministry dismissed him as delusional. His neighbors thought madness had claimed him, spending nights flicking marbles across a backyard water tank while Britain burned around him. His name was Barnes Wallis, and his seemingly ridiculous experiments with children's toys would reshape modern warfare forever. September 1939. War engulfs Europe, and Britain confronts an impossible problem. Hitler's Atlantic Wall stretches to 1,400 miles reinforced concrete fortifications. Spanning Norway to Spain, U-boat pens shelter beneath 20-foot-thick concrete roofs. The weapon launch sites burrow into French hillsides. Railway tunnels transport German armor invisibly across occupied territory. The Royal Air Force attacks without mercy. Halifaxes, Stirlings, Lancasters, they unleash everything. 4,000-pound blockbusters, massive 8,000-pound explosives. The results prove devastating for the British. Between 1940 and 1943, Bomber Command loses nearly 400 aircraft attacking hardened targets. Almost 3,000 airmen killed or captured. Success rate against reinforced bunkers, abysmal 4%. The physics is brutal. When conventional bombs explode upon impact, 92% of their destructive energy vanishes into open atmosphere. The remaining 8% barely scorches concrete surfaces. One devastating raid drops 85 tons of explosives on U-boat pens at Saint-Nazaire. Reconnaissance photographs reveal German workers casually sweeping debris the following morning. Submarines depart precisely on schedule. Military planners calculate 40,000 casualties to capture a single submarine base through ground assault. Churchill's advisors issue their grim verdict. These installations remain invulnerable to aerial bombardment. Monthly, German U-boats send 400,000 tons of Allied shipping to the ocean floor. Britain slowly starves. The strategic situation becomes existential if these fortifications stand. Europe cannot be liberated. Air Marshal Arthur Harris writes desperately to Churchill, "Our bombs bounce off like rubber balls. Unless someone invents a weapon capable of penetrating deep underground, we face complete strategic paralysis. The solution emerges from an unexpected source, not Oxford laboratories, not Cambridge engineering departments, but a 53-year-old self-educated designer who abandoned formal schooling at 17 for shipyard labor. March 1942. Effingham, Surrey. Barnes Wallis kneels beside a water tank in his modest garden, methodically flicking marbles across the surface. Night after night, month after month, Neighbors exchange worried glances, convinced wartime stress has shattered his mind. But Wallis perceives something everyone overlooks. Watching his daughter throw stones across a pond one afternoon sparked revelation. Stones striking at proper angles didn't sink immediately, they bounced, transferring energy through water before settling. Wallis pondered obsessively. Could bombs replicate this through solid earth? Rather than exploding upon impact and squandering energy into atmosphere, what if weapons burrowed deep into rock first? The surrounding material wouldn't absorb the blast, it would conduct destruction like seismic waves. Like ringing a massive bell from inside rather than hammering it externally. He constructs scaled-down models and tests them at the Road Research Laboratory. While conventional bombs merely crater surfaces, his streamlined penetrators punch deep cavities before detonating, collapsing everything above. July 1942. Wallis presents findings to the Air Ministry. 11 senior officers stare with undisguised contempt. You developed this theory using marbles? One demands incredulously. Properly credentialed Cambridge scientists declare deep penetration bombing physically impossible. Another sneers. Your presumption is breathtaking. Then they're mistaken. Wallis responds evenly. I possess test data proving otherwise. But Air Marshal Harris, who buries bomber crews weekly, interjects quietly. If you can deliver a weapon that functions, I care nothing about testing methods. Wallis receives grudging approval for limited development. His original Tenton design requires aircraft that don't exist, so he scales down to 6 tons something modified Lancasters can carry. He names it Tallboy. June 8, 1944. Woodhall Spa, Lincolnshire. Ground crews carefully winch the first combat-ready Tallboy into a Lancaster's bomb bay. 21 feet long, 12,000 pounds. A massive steel teardrop containing 5,000 to 100 pounds of Torpex explosive 3 times more powerful than TNT. Target: the Somme railway tunnel, sheltered beneath 60 feet of solid rock. At 11:35 p.m., 19 Lancasters of 617 Squadron, the legendary dam busters, cross the French coastline. Wing Commander Cheshire descends to 300 feet, marking the target with incendiaries while German flak tears through darkness around his aircraft. Squadron leader James Tate's bomb aimer centers crosshairs carefully. Steady. Bombs gone. The Tallboy plummets, accelerating beyond 750 miles per hour. It disappears into the hillside. 3 heartbeats later, an underground earthquake collapses 300 feet of tunnel beneath 10,000 tons of shattered rock. A single bomb accomplishes what 18 months of conventional bombing couldn't achieve. Penetration depth, 63 feet. Success rate against hardened targets, 87% versus 4% for standard ordnance. Then came the Tirpitz, Germany's monstrous battleship. 42,000 tons of armor lurking in Norwegian fjords. 22 previous attacks using conventional weapons had failed completely. November 12, 1944. Lancasters armed with Tallboys locate the beast. Flying Officer Arthur Joplin's bomb penetrates the armored deck and detonates within the hull. The mighty Tirpitz capsizes in minutes, carrying 950 German sailors to frozen depths. Wallis remained unsatisfied. His next creation, the Grand Slam, weighed 22,000 pounds, achieved speeds exceeding Mach 1, and penetrated 100 feet underground before detonating. March 14, 1945. The first Grand Slam obliterates the Bielefeld Viaduct with a single strike. 41 more followed during the war's final weeks. Annihilating U-boat pens and V-weapon installations, They had resisted years of conventional assault. Captured German Colonel Joseph Wagner, chief engineer of Atlantic Wall fortifications, admitted in interrogation, "We believed our bunkers were impenetrable." Then the British created bombs transforming Earth itself into weaponry. Our entire defensive philosophy became worthless. Overnight, you cannot defend against manufactured earthquakes. Conservative military estimates, 0 Allied soldiers survived. Because Wallis's innovations destroyed fortifications, they would otherwise have assaulted directly with rifles and grenades. October 30th, 1979. Barnes Wallis passes away at 92, having never sought recognition for his contributions. When the Royal Commission awards him £10,000 for his inventions, he donates everything to support orphaned children of RAF personnel killed in combat. "I grieve for every airman who perished testing my weapons," he confided to his daughter Mary. "That money feels like blood payment." His earthquake bomb principles became foundational for every bunker buster developed since. The American GBU-28, rushed into production during Desert Storm, employed his concepts to crack Iraqi command bunkers. The 30,000-pound massive ordnance penetrator, America's largest conventional weapon, essentially replicates an enlarged Grand Slam. An anonymous 617 Squadron veteran wrote Wallis in 1951, "You never flew missions beside us. You never faced flak or night fighters, but you saved more lives than you'll ever comprehend. Your weapons let us destroy targets in single missions rather than returning repeatedly, until Germans killed us. Because of you, I returned home to my family." Wallis never displayed that letter, but after his death, his daughter discovered it among his papers, paper-worn soft from being unfolded and reread countless times. Barnes Wallis succeeded where credentialed experts failed because he refused accepting that impossible meant permanent. A shipyard apprentice teaching himself engineering through night courses. A man willing to appear foolish, flicking marbles across garden water while pursuing revolutionary insights experts dismissed. Sometimes the most absurd-looking experiment produces the most brilliant solution.